I love that we all come together to support one another, to help really drive and boost the industry that we are in. Hi, good morning everyone, and welcome to the webinar, today's webinar. Galina is here with us today. She's ready and raring to go in her salon. Hi Galina, thanks for joining.
Hello everyone, very happy to be here back. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Professional Beauty. I rushed into my salon to make sure that I'm not only speaking, but I'm also showing, and visually it's all useful, not only audio-wise. So today it's all about the hygiene of your tools in the salon. And when speaking about the tools, I will be talking about and showing everything about hygiene and the steps of hygiene for manicure and nail extensions and pedicures tools, but I will also talk about hairdressing tools because it's actually almost the same thing and we deal almost with the same thing. Now, everybody probably have a question. Is it in line with Dubai municipality, or this is what everyone must do? I will make it easier. What I will be saying today is, what are we fighting against? That's one. I'll tell you the steps, how to do that, to keep your salon and your customers safe. And number three, yes, it is in line with Dubai municipality. It's what's written in their book, and that's what I will be showing you. Yet all of it is universal truth about tools hygiene. So now let me start. What are we fighting against, or what are we protecting? There are multiple organisms living, surviving on a human body, which are positive and negative bacteria, which is our immune system. We also have a parasites or viruses, bad bacteria, which are infections, which are colds or skin or nails infections, which are funguses. To group it, to put it into groups, I'll do the following. It's bacteria, bad bacteria, which we call pathogens, which create infections. We have funguses, and we have as well viruses. I would describe it as rabbits, the pathogens, the tigers that eat and survive on flesh, and the viruses are like aliens. And all of this has to be eliminated from your tools before you touch your client. You will tell me, but we are not surgeons. We don't perform the surgery. This is right. But we deal with all type of clients, and someone's immune system is lower than another one, or somebody had a scratch on the cuticle, or some accident happened. And there are some of the bad guys, let's say, some of the infections or some of the types of organisms that live on the scalp and can be transmissible, or they live on the skin and can be transmissible. And what if your client is lower immune system or whatsoever? Again, back to basics. We are going through all of it just to keep our tools safe, and we do not perform the surgery, and it doesn't mean that we are the only source of contamination. Back to tools. We have 3 steps of hygiene, which is sanitation, disinfection, and sterilization. All 3 are necessary to keep your tools ultimately clean. When I say ultimately clean, that means there is nothing. Let me pick up the tool now for you. There is nothing on the surface of any tool that is alive. So in fact, inside this sterilization pouch, nothing is alive. There are only tools and all the organisms dead. How did we achieve this? When I'll be saying the steps here, I will warn everyone who is overseas. Yes, different places have different standards, but I'll try to make it easier. And please, if you do have questions, how's it in Dubai or how's it in Russia or how's it in Europe, please ask your questions. So let's begin. Let's say these are my tools. I just finished manicuring and pedicuring. So this is a tray tool, and you can see everything is metal. I also use rotary tools, which are dental quality tools, and I'm using them. So I'm done with the customer. The first step I do here, it is required to brush under soap and water. And we have soap and water here with dedicated brush. Your tools for about 5 minutes under the clean water. This sink, I will show you the sink. This sink is completely dedicated only for tools. We have 2 of them. So this is only tools dedicated sink. So wash it. When we wash under the soap, under the water with soap and soap and brush, we are removing particles of skin, nails, dust, and we are removing bad bacteria in a certain amount. This process is not actually killing anything. It's preventing from bad organisms or pathogens developing further. Sanitation step can be done also on the skin or on other surfaces of human body with antiseptics. That was step number 1, and that's called sanitation. So we reduced about 40% of bad bacteria, bad organisms, and whatever was on the tools right after the client. The next step, I would submerge all the tools into a disinfectant, and I will let it be there for about 30 to 40 minutes. Now, the question is, what if I'm fully booked? This is why Dubai municipality requires you to have 5 sets for a day. That all these tools, hygiene, or all this process can be done before or after work. I suggest after work, so you arrive next day with clean tools being ready for you. So anyway, step number 2 is done with liquid disinfectants in most of the countries of the world. And the disinfectant itself, there were many questions recently from my colleagues, salon owners, asking, what is the right disinfectant? There is such a thing, international thing, is a marking, which is called CE and the numbering. It's a hospital grade registration, let's say, for Europe. CE stands for European conformity. If you have on your sterilizer at least that, or if you are seeing this, disinfectant, if you are seeing disinfectant approved by municipality, yes, you are allowed to use. That will do the job. And normally on every disinfectant on the bottle, you will have a time, how long you should keep the tools in, and how long you should rinse it afterwards in the water again. Because some of the disinfectants are extremely foamy. It depends on what job they do. So I'm still on step number 2, and we are using mostly barbicide here. That's what's available. But I would like to go into details a little bit here. I'm using such tools, and many of the salons nowadays started using such tools as rotary. The entire team of mine are using this kind of tools. You can see that they are full of, some of them are diamond coated, some of them are full of grooves and rails, and that may trap a lot of particles of the previous job, like dust, acrylic gel dust, skin, nails. So these kind of tools are good to clean in ultrasonic or ultrasound little disinfectant, which is just exactly the same as for jewelry. You can buy it anywhere. It's a small thing. What happens, you just place this kind of tools into ultrasound machine. It breaks off all the small particles and makes it clean. So we've gone through step number 1, sanitation. Step number 2, disinfection with your disinfector. Now, these are German quality tools, dental quality tools from Germany, and this particular supplier tells me in their catalog what kind of disinfectants are good for these tools to avoid the corrosion, because keeping in the liquid metal for 30 minutes may cause the corrosion. Also, the ingredients that are in disinfectants can cause the corrosion if the disinfectant is not suitable for this particular tools. So to the hairdressers, if your tools like scissors and shears are super expensive, your production will tell you exactly what kind of disinfectant is suitable for your tools. It must be written either in the catalog or in the instruction when you purchase these tools, and I know it for a fact. During the step number 2, disinfection, we kill about 60 to 70% of bad bacteria, pathogens, and unfortunately, viruses and spores and funguses do not die completely. They may be affected, but they don't die completely here, and therefore we do have a third step, step number 3, which is sterilization. In a beauty salon, and I will roll my Emma, can you give me a buzz? Am I still alive? I don't hear the people. All good? Okay, thank you. The moving is fine, right? This way. I'm just trying to make it as visual as possible. So here is my salon sterilizer, and that is a hot air box, as we call it. It's just, let me put it down. Looks this way inside. Again, I'm sure 99% of beauty salons that are watching me now, or maybe 100%, are doing what I say. So what happens here? Sterilizer, this kind of sterilizer kills 100% of all living organisms. All of them are dead. How do we proceed to this step? So we sanitized our tools with soap and water. We submerged it into a liquid disinfectant. We rinsed that as well, dried our tools on a disposable towel or a clean new tissue, and we have to pouch the tools. Now, about pouching. Real big thing that I want to pay attention, because I visited tons of salons in UAE, in Middle East, and there is a little confusion about the pouches. So let me grab one pouch and I will show you what I mean. We all know that in the air around us, we have living organisms floating. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Somebody sneezed next to you, it may be completely horrible nowadays. And therefore, to avoid our tools being contaminated again after sterilization, we need to seal them into the pouches. So what happens with my tools? I put my tools, let me grab one. I put my clean tools that has gone through first 2 steps, sanitation and disinfection, and I put it into the pouch. It's a hospital grade pouch, and yes, we're obliged to use the pouch. Let's say in the country I come from, Russia, we're not obliged to use pouches, but we're back to Dubai. We have to do that. And why do I want to pay the attention to it? I just said that it has to be airtight sealed. There is a perforated line here where we just fold this pouch completely to avoid any air coming in or out. Yeah. And after that, we put this for 40 minutes up to 180 degrees. So that means tools and everything that is inside that pouch is heating up to 180 degrees during 40 minutes. That means there everything will be dead. By the time I take the pouch out, tools are sealed and ready to be used to be on the client. Because we are very many manicurists here, and each of us have a lot of different tools and 5 sets of each type for a day, we store all of these tools just here on the sterilizer, which is actually not sterilizer. It's a UV box, ultraviolet light box, which reduces the development of a bad bacteria within this environment. It does not kill anything. It just prevents extra development of bad organisms. So we've covered now 3 steps: sanitation, disinfection, sterilization. Only one of those can be done as well on the human body or a human skin, which is sanitation, and that's where your antiseptics or antibiotics are going to. The rest can be done on the non-living surfaces, and that is normally done as per rules to each country, but the meaning is exactly the same. We have to kill all the living organisms, which were the bad ones, which were pathogens, the bad bacteria, which is fed on our oil, on our production of our body, the fungus that is fed on our body, actually, skin, hair, and nails mostly, that we beauticians deal with. And the third one is viruses, which are, I would like to pay attention. Before the situation that we were in, we always had bad viruses. These were hepatitis, it was cholera. There are bad viruses like warts. Warts are these little spots on the skin that adversely develop the skin in an abnormal way, and it's quite disturbing. It happens normally on the feet and hands or around nails, and this is all transmissible. So those guys were always there, and we had to protect ourselves all the time. In hairdressing department, I'm sure that hairstylists are learning in the school all about basics of trichology, and which says all about sicknesses of the scalp and the hair, and the same organisms may survive in this department as well. And now I would like to put this all together and say that yes, hair and nails should equally treat their tools, and somebody will probably object. How? Let me show you something interesting. These plastics, these particular plastics, are able to survive 180 degrees. It was produced specifically by this company of the tools, and I'm able to put this directly here, and the plastic will not melt. Also, hairstylists are normally scared. Unfortunately, I don't have my scissors here to show. They are normally scared of the ball bearing being affected by the liquid disinfectors. Plus, most of the successful hairstylists, shears cost everything about 1,000 dirhams and above per piece. So yes, shears can be sanitized, disinfectant, and sterilized as well, as long as you are using correct disinfectant and the temperature that is prescribed by the manufacturer. Normally, everything dies here in this spot, in this hot stove, on the temperature above 140 degrees. In the hospitals, instead of that, autoclaves are used. Autoclaves are the machines, can be anything from this side up to the room size, and autoclaves are doing exactly the same steps, sterilization, like here. Why? Because surgeons, of course, open our bodies and perform the surgeries, and surgeons and their tools are exposed to much more, and therefore there is a special personnel using special autoclaves. Autoclaves are normally graded into the grades A, B, C, D, and so on. And depending on the type of autoclave, there is a specialist personnel that is taking care of tools only in the hospital. Again, back to us, we're not surgeons. We are okay to go on with hot stuff like this. If you wish to have an autoclave in your salon, the sterilization process in salon type autoclave is about 135 degrees up to 35 minutes. Why less time? Why less temperature? Because autoclaves are using internal pressure on top, therefore finalizing the process much faster and easier. So I think I've covered most. Yes, one last thing I will show you. So these are the basic pedicure files. We are supposed to use everything disposable. So far, you've seen everything that I've used is disposable. So I'm using disposable stickers here for the pedicures. The same I'm using for the nail files, and you can see that. Why am I showing you pedicure files? As I said, while visiting salons for trainings or consultations, I've seen a lot of interesting points. Let's say a salon using disposable sticker on a pedicure handle, but the handle itself is plastic. Typical, cheap, normal plastic. Maybe these files are very comfortable and so on, but they're plastic. They cannot stand up the sterilization. So plastic, in my eyes, is complete no-go in this department. Convert your tools, make it easier, safer, and nicer. And I think that is all so far. I'm looking forward to the questions now.
Yes, thank you so much, Galina. Really interesting. Yes, if anyone's got any further questions, please put them into the Q&A box now, and I can ask Galina live the questions that you have. But one question that has popped up is, has sterilisation and hygiene stepped up even more because of COVID?
No, whatever I've shown now is done for years and years everywhere around the world. As I said, it's universal hygiene. COVID is a virus. And there, as I said earlier, there are way more deadly viruses than just a COVID. In a sense, again, the subject about the COVID is very sensitive. I don't mean to diminish that type of situation. I'm talking about other viruses, which is hepatitis, warts. I'm telling you really top three, cholera, and these are viruses, and they're deadly, and they're very much transmissible, and a lot of our others. Just Google it, viruses, and see. And we have to protect ourselves, especially skin and hair people, warts, and also bad bacteria like pathogens. So all of the steps are forever. They were before, we were always doing it, and we will have to continue doing that. For the COVID, we started protecting ourselves compulsory now. If it was the choice to have a mask, now it's not anymore a choice, and we always work in gloves. But as I said again, in my salon, we always did it, and those three steps are completely compulsory throughout the world. The only difference is, let's say, in Russia, step number one, there is a typical prescription of disinfectant. When you take the tools, you're not just washing them, you're submerging them into a disinfectant and keeping it there for a prescribed time. Then you're brushing it under straight water, but keeping it under disinfectant yet, and that's the rule. And there is a particular time on how long brushing it. So to answer your question, those steps are forever and ever. Before COVID, after COVID, it was always there. We have all other things.
Okay. Another question from Facebook. Can you recommend which sterilizing cabinets are good for small self-employed therapists?
This is perfect. This is just perfect. I've seen, I forgot how they are called, sterilizers with, I think, propylene little balls. I don't recommend those because they're not very convenient. They don't cover up, so don't go for that. They are very small, but don't go for that. This is very, very sufficient price on the market, and it's very, very safe to work with. So I recommend totally this. And again, just to pay your attention, even if it's written here sterilizer, it's not sterilizer. Don't get confused. It's just UV light box for storage. That's it. It doesn't kill anything. It just prevents from developing. That's all. So these are my recommendation. But there is something. Don't burn in the beginning. Check it without the tools in the first few uses because they tend to burn first time because the temperature is very high. It's up to 200 degrees. So check them out first time.
Okay, amazing. Which I don't think there are at the moment. Okay, excellent. Well, if anyone has any more questions for Galina, please do email me, or what's the best way to contact you, Galina? On Instagram or?
Instagram, Galina Spierling, just as it is. Email is perfect.
Okay.
You can.
Sorry, questions just popped up. What is the difference between a hot cabinet and a sterilizer?
The hot cabinet is a sterilizer. So in the department of sterilization, we have sterilizer as a hot air box like this. Also, we have hot steam boxes. They're also used equally. You can choose one or the other one. I prefer just a hot box and autoclave. So these are the different types of sterilizers. Autoclaves are expensive. They're hospital grade. There are a few types that are suitable for salon, but again, as a sterilizer, I'm happy with that. And again, don't confuse yourself. This one is not the sterilizer. It's just the last step. It has UV light. Unfortunately, when you open it, it's switching off, so I cannot show it. I can show it this way. The light will switch on here. So yeah, the light is on now. Sterilizers, as I said, hot, steam, or air, or autoclave. Choose one of those.
Cool, perfect. Okay, thank you, Galina, for your time. And yes, as Galina said, please just contact her directly on Instagram, or we can put your email address in the chat. And if you've got any questions after this webinar, then feel free to reach out. So thank you for your time, Galina. Thank you everyone for joining. And tomorrow at 10 a.m, we will be live with Beverly Spencer talking about mindsets and well-being for leaders. So feel free to register for that webinar, which will be live at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So yeah, this leaves me to say, have a great week, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you all very soon.
Thank you very much again, everyone. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Professional Beauty. I'm there anytime to share whatever I've gained as a knowledge. So see you around Dubai and everywhere else.
Thank you, Galina. Take care. Bye.